And I guess we did mention Europe, so like that brings me to Europe. Europe has been very troubled ever since Brexit. I mean, England's been troubled since Brexit. Because that was stupid. That was very dumb. Bad, England. Bad. Again, media literacy, regular literacy, being lied to, and look, there was a lot of pushback. It was a close vote too. This is the other thing. Like, so in that vote there, it was very close, and ultimately, in a true democracy, like that, 51% gets it done. But then when you think about it, and like this is more like a first past the post issue, but again, do we really want a situation where almost a majority don't want it or are against it or whatever? Like, is there not a better solution? Is there a compromise to be made there? I don't know. When it came to Brexit, it kind of seems binary, but maybe they could have had on that same referendum if they wanted to be, in a group that is not in the EU, but is, a part of it at an arm's length, that kind of thing. Like, there's other options that they want to try forming a different setup, but instead of just black or white, and people didn't really know what either thing meant. And so this is just as a politics as a whole, people need to get a lot more information. We need to be better informed, and we need to understand it better. And it is tough because in this day and age, politicians, media outlets, whoever, they seem like they can just lie with impunity. Unless you lie about someone, then you might get sued. But if you can just lie about things going on. Like, I could just lie about what's happening around me, and it wouldn't matter. Like, nobody would care. Nobody could do anything, even if they found out. They could, like, go online and say, hey, this guy's lying about this, whatever. But, like, ultimately, when you try and impart information, you could just lie. And this is a big problem. People need to be able to see through that. They need to be able to check it, and they need to know how. It's kind of like the old adage that, you used to see this from the right wing, but now they've lost the plot. Like, do your own research. Well, I don't think a lot of people know how to do their own research. Even if you went to undergrad, a lot of those undergrad courses, you didn't have to do research. Like, I'm thinking, if you were in any of the sciences, maybe biology, but even then, I don't think so. Like, you would have to have been in, like, life science pre-med maybe to do research. I wasn't in that, so I don't know. Maybe you do research there, but you didn't do research in math, physics, chemistry. It was just the coursework. So they didn't know how to do research. So even if you have an undergrad degree, you've never done research. I went further on in university, and even I barely scratched the surface of, like, true research. A friend of mine has a PhD. He knows how to do research. It takes a long time. You have to go through the data. It is a grueling process. So do your own research is ridiculous. You need help. We need to help each other. And this brings me back to the community that I talked about before. Like, we need to come together, be a community that supports each other, that helps each other out. But everyone is just in it for themselves. It's a scam economy where you're just trying to scam the next person. And that's not what this is supposed to be about. Look, everyone is like, oh, I miss the good old days. What good old days? And if you say any time between the 1950s and the early 2000s, then I agree. But that involves a lot of changes that I don't think people, especially on one side of the aisle, are willing to do. I don't think they know what it means. I don't think they've even thought about it. They just liked how it felt being a little kid, I guess. Like they just want to be a little kid? Maybe? I don't know. I would like to live in that world, but not as a little kid. I like to be now, as an adult, living in that world where I help people and I get help when I need it. That'd be nice. That would be nice. But that's not what people want. At least, I don't know. You tell me, do you want that? I'd love that. But it takes work. We've got to band together. And look, Canada's done a good job about this, but we need to keep that momentum up. I want to do briefly Ukraine and Middle East. So Ukraine. When I first thought about doing this, it was when the Ukraine war broke out, because of I saw a lot of, at the time, people didn't know how to react. Even amongst my very close friends, you know, they all felt sorry for Ukraine. I mean, if you remember early on in the war, it looked pretty bad, but then Ukraine was able to kind of turn the tide, and that was, you know, awesome for them. But just people didn't know how to react in terms of what are our obligations historically, what did we say, all this kind of stuff, you know, did we push Russia into this, all this kind of debate back and forth. That takes away Russia's autonomy to choose this war. It takes away the timing and the reasoning of Russia. So, you know, Russia could have multiple reasons, but people will just pick one, like, oh, NATO went too close to their border, or there was interference in the election in Ukraine, and Russia thought it was unfair that an anti-Russian government was picked, and that, you know, there was some illegal activity there, that there's Nazis in there, that the Russian people in Ukraine are being mistreated. You know, some of these, there might be something there. But when it comes to actually, like, attacking a country over that, if that were the criteria that any country got to attack anyone over, we would be in big trouble. Everyone would be. I'm not saying Canada would be. Canada, I think we'd actually be pretty good there. But when I, like, just in general, around the world, Europe, Asia, Africa, South America, there would be some issues. Like, people would be having a bad time. And so that's no excuse. And in terms of helping Ukraine, I mean, they were promised help. What does that mean? Like, this is a thing we should talk about at some point, but there's no... So, like, when I sign a contract with someone, say I'm doing a renovation on my house, or doing, you know, getting a, you know, it's hot out, an air conditioner installed, you sign a contract and a court of law will uphold that. Like, you can go to the courts and get restitution, force a judgment, something. But on the global stage, you can't do anything. So, you know, promising stuff to countries is kind of nothing, right? Like, I'm not saying you should do that. I think what happens, and we're going to see this with the U.S., is that they're going to be trusted less and less as time goes on, even with different politicians, because it seems like this could just happen whenever. So you always have to be ready now. Like, the U.S. has let the cat out of the bag. They can always do this. They might do it again. You don't know. I mean, look, we're going back on the U.S. again, unfortunately, but let's say a Republican wins, you know, Rubio, Vance, one of the Trumps, someone. I don't know what they're going to do. Look what they're doing now. Look what they're okay with have happening now. So I don't know what they're going to do. I can't trust them. And so their word is nothing to me. The U.S.'s word is nothing to me. Like, I will never trust it again. That will stay with me for my entire life. And it's partly why politics around the world is fracturing, because now everyone kind of knows, oh, without some backing, without some force backing up the agreement, like having a third party, bigger force backing up the agreement between two smaller countries, there is nothing stopping a country from changing their mind on a whim. And there's nothing you can do about it. So that's a new world that we have to navigate through, and even I have to adjust, because like that's a big topic to wrap your head around. That, and look, it's always been the case. I think this is another thing. Mark Carney talks a big game and gave a great speech at Davos. I don't know if he's going to back up that speech. I don't know if other countries are really agreeing with the speech. The speech was correct. The rhetoric was correct. Whether or not other countries know it, acknowledge it, whatever, it was right. Like, in this current world, bigger countries want to be able to use their size to get their way. Long term, that's a terrible solution. The US used to know this. Long term, that is a terrible outcome. You will be resented, you will be hated secretly, and eventually it explode in your face. Like, metaphorically speaking, like eventually it will come back to haunt you that you've acted this way. But in the short term, you do get a bunch of things. I mean, just look at the way that the US has treated South America, Cuba right now. We should talk about Cuba. I mean, talk about a complete disaster that no one wants to recognize. Like, there's so many things to talk about. This is why I had to, because like it gets missed. It gets missed. Like, Ukraine is still happening. They're still fighting for their lives. They're running out of money. The US is running out of, I don't even know what the US is doing. They flip-flop so much you don't even know. But like, sometimes they're helping them, sometimes they're not. But Europe is struggling to help Ukraine. Meanwhile, you have what happened in Venezuela, which is just, it's illegal. It's just straight up illegal. Then what's happening in Cuba is a war crime. It's a crime against humanity. Not to mention what's going on in the Middle East with Iran, Israel attacking everyone around them. I mean, like, you can't really go forward without saying and just being out and open. Israel wants to commit genocide against every single country around them. They just do. They hate them. They hate the fact that they view themselves as European or Western, or however you want to view it, and they view everyone else around them as subhuman, and they're upset that they're in that part of the world and that they don't get to live in Europe. That's the case. And so they are trying to remove what they view as the problem around them. That's just a genocide, ethnic cleansing. They want it all. And they will accuse anyone of countering their idea as anti-Semitic, and that word has lost meaning, and that's scary. My great uncles, 4 of them, fought in World War II, and I couldn't be more proud of that fact. One died there, and the fact that now I, or people who did fight there who view this the same way, would be called anti-Semitic, it's astonishing that you can't disagree without being called this horrendous. Essentially what they want to do is brandish you as a Nazi, when if you look at the way the Nazis operate and you look at the way Israel operates, I mean, You don't have to be a history buff like I am to see what's going on there.